All right, let's talk about one of the biggest economic shifts happening right now, the move to subscriptions. On the surface, it looks so simple, right? Just predictable, recurring revenue. But what if I told you that underneath that simple promise, there's a world of hidden technical complexity so intense it can literally break a company? To get our heads around that, we need to start with one big question. What if this huge move to subscriptions, this whole idea of the end of ownership, is actually hiding a challenge so big that it's forcing companies to completely re-engineer how they work from the ground up? That is exactly what we're going to unpack today. To really get what's happening, you have to see the before and after. The old way of doing business, the transactional economy, was simple. It was linear. You made a product, you sold it, and that was pretty much it. The relationship was over. But the subscription economy, it's a totally different ballgame. It's circular, it's continuous. This isn't just about how you bill somebody. It's a fundamental shift in what you're actually building. You're not just selling a product anymore. You're building an ongoing customer relationship. That's the core asset. And look, this isn't some niche trend we're talking about. This is a seismic shift in how the entire world does business, with a market size that's almost hard to wrap your head around. I mean, just look at this number. By 2033, we're talking about a $1.5 trillion market. When a market gets that big, it stops being a new model and starts being the new center of gravity for business. Suddenly, for every leader, whether you're the CFO or the head of product, getting this right isn't just a good idea, it's about survival.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. We all think of subscriptions and our minds go to Netflix or Spotify, but the real engine driving all this growth, it's the business-to-business sector. B2B already makes up more than half the market, and that's where the real complexity lives. We're not talking about just streaming a movie. We're talking about things like uptime as a service for a jet engine, where the billing depends on performance data that's being measured every millisecond. It's a whole other level of difficult.
And that brings us to the key idea for today, the perfect metaphor for this whole thing. That simple, beautiful promise of a monthly recurring charge, it's an illusion. It's hiding a deeply treacherous reality just below the surface. This quote right here just nails it. In the old world, pricing was a marketing decision. You slapped a price tag on a box. But today, a seemingly simple choice like, hey, let's charge for our new AI feature based on usage, suddenly dictates the entire architecture of your software. What used to be a number on a spreadsheet has become a foundational engineering problem, literally cemented in code. And this is what we mean by the billing iceberg. What your customer sees is that tiny simple tip, the monthly charge. But underneath, your systems are battling a monster of complexity. You've got proration, you've got usage metering, you've got these crazy customer hierarchies, grandfathered prices, all while trying to follow strict accounting rules. Ignoring this hidden part of the iceberg is exactly how companies get sunk. Okay, so let's take a deep breath and dive below the surface. We're going to look at a few of these operational nightmares up close, so you can really see why old-school systems built for one-time sales just completely fall apart. Let's start with something that sounds so easy, proration. A customer upgrades their plan halfway through the month. Your system just has to credit them for the time they didn't use on the old plan and charge them for the new plan. Simple, right? Well, hang on. What if that customer is in a different time zone, so that change happens on a different day? What about leap years? What if they hit a new volume discount in the middle of the month? All of a sudden, this simple math becomes a complete nightmare to do at scale. And then you've got the grandfathering problem. As your business evolves, your pricing is going to change, but you can't just jack up the price on your most loyal early customers. So you grandfather them in at their old rate. Fast forward a few years, and you might have dozens of different prices for the exact same product. Your billing system has to be a perfect historian, flawlessly mapping every single customer to their unique deal. One mistake doesn't just make a customer angry, it completely erodes trust. And in the B2B world, oh man, it gets even more tangled. So imagine you sign a big deal with a global headquarters. We'll call them the parent. They negotiate a sweet master discount. But the people actually using the product are in all the different regional divisions, the children. Now here's the kicker. Your billing system has to be the brain. It has to be smart enough to send an invoice to the child division for their usage, but apply the special discount that was negotiated by the parent. This is where most off-the-shelf software just gives up. So if the old tools are totally broken, what's the answer? You can't just try harder with legacy systems. The solution is a completely new kind of technology stack, one that's specifically engineered with 5 essential layers to handle this new world. So this modern stack has 5 distinct layers, and each one has a critical job. First, Identity figures out who the customer is and what they're allowed to use. Then, mediation comes in and cleans up all their usage data. After that, the rating engine calculates the price. Then billing generates the invoice. And finally, revenue recognition makes sure it all gets reported correctly for the accountants. Together, these layers are the bridge that connects your customer to your bank account. Now, out of all those layers, I really want to zoom in on one that is the true unsung hero of all of this: the mediation layer. If you're charging based on usage, like per API call or per gigabyte stored, your product is spitting out millions, maybe billions, of raw, messy data points. You can't just point that fire hose of data at your billing system. It would literally crash. Mediation is the crucial filter that sits right in the middle. And this layer does three incredibly important things. First, it ingests that massive fire hose of data without breaking a sweat. Second, it normalizes it, cleaning up errors, fixing formats. And third, it aggregates it. So instead of trying to bill for 50 million tiny API calls, it sends one single clean line item to your billing system. This isn't just about being efficient, it's about being accurate. Without good mediation, companies can lose up to 5% of their total revenue just from data getting lost or billed wrong. Think about that. So all of this complexity leads every leadership team to a massive crossroads. You're looking at this iceberg, and you have to make a choice. Do you buy a pre-built platform to handle this, or do you build your own custom solution? Now, for about 90% of businesses out there, the answer is to buy. It's way faster, you offload all the compliance and security headaches, and it works perfectly for standard pricing models. But for the other 10%, we're talking large enterprises or high-growth companies, building becomes a strategic necessity. You build when you have insane scale, when you have those complex parent-child models we talked about, or when your pricing logic is so unique it's part of your secret sauce. And here's exactly why building becomes necessary. Even the best commercial platforms have hard limits. For example, Stripe billing caps you at 250 line items per invoice. For a big enterprise, that's a non-starter. Other platforms have really strict API limits that can basically throttle your growth. At a certain point, that off-the-shelf solution starts feeling less like a tool and more like a cage, and you have to build your way out. And that brings us right back to where we started. The only thing you can be absolutely sure of in the subscription economy is that your pricing will change. Your competitive advantage isn't just about having a great product today, it's about having the agility to monetize it in new and creative ways tomorrow. So, the final question I'll leave you with is this: is your infrastructure built for that future?